This is the sagittal section of head and neck. This is the interior view of head and neck, showing the sagittal section of the medial surface of the brain. Starting from above downwards, the structures shown in this model. This blue structure is the superior sagittal sinus. Then here we have the, in white, corpus callosum. It has different parts from anterior to posterior. We have the rostrum, genu, which is the bend, and then this hole is the body, and then this bulb-shaped terminal end or the posterior end of the corpus callosum is called splenium. Here under the surface, inferior surface of the corpus callosum, body of corpus callosum, is the curtain which is called septum pellucidum. This septum pellucidum connects the undersurface of the body of corpus callosum with the fornix. This is the sphenoidal air sinus. This is the frontal air sinus. Here, the sagittal section of the lateral wall of the nose. It shows 3 nasal conchae along with their nasal meatuses. So we have a superior nasal concha, and under it is the depression showing the superior nasal meatus. Then we have the middle nasal concha, under which lies the middle nasal meatus. This is the third inferior nasal concha, under which lies the inferior nasal meatus. The broad area in front of these conchae is labeled as atrium of the nose, and this depression right in the anterior most part of the nose, bearing the vibrissae, which are the nasal hair, is known as vestibule of the nose. Here we have the region of oral cavity. This is the roof of the oral cavity, formed anteriorly by the hard palate and soft palate. This hole is the tongue along with its different musculature. Behind the nose starts at the base of the skull starts the pharynx. Pharynx has 3 parts: nasopharynx, the one that lies behind the nose; oropharynx, the one that lies behind the oral cavity; and then we have the laryngopharynx, the one that lies behind the larynx. In the nasopharynx, along the posterior wall, lies the tonsillar or lymphoid aggregation called pharyngeal tonsil. Here you are looking at the lateral wall of the nose, showing different structures in it. First of all, this one is the opening for the auditory tube, also called eustachian tube, also called pharyngotympanic tube. Above it is the elevation, which is called torus. Then posterolaterally to this elevation is another fold of mucous membrane, which is known as salpingopharyngeal fold. Then comes the oropharynx, the part of pharynx that lies behind the oral cavity. It shows in its lateral wall the palatine tonsil. Here you can see another lymphoid aggregation in relation to the tongue, which is called lingual tonsil. This is the larynx, sagittal section of the larynx, showing the interior of the larynx. This is the cartilage, here shown in the green, which is called epiglottis. This area of the larynx is labeled as laryngeal inlet, and here you can see 2 folds, an upper fold, this one, and then a lower fold of mucous membrane. The upper one is known as vestibular fold and the lower one is known as vocal fold. Rest is the laryngeal cavity. And behind the larynx is continuing downward, the laryngopharynx, part of the pharynx. Here, starting from anterior to posterior, going from anterior to posterior, this is the posterior pharyngeal wall, showing the lining of the mucous membrane and the muscles, pharyngeal muscles. Then we have the vertebral column with intervening fibrocartilaginous discs. And this is the spinal cord, and then here we have the spinous processes of the cervical vertebrae.